looking at it and his face changes, right? That's a creepy fucking picture. In my mind, and I have the picture and I can send it to you now. Somebody tried to steal it off my Facebook page. I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle.
Some people knew Chris Watts long before the world knew what he had done. They trusted him. They laughed with him. They called him a friend. And then, in August 2018, everything they thought they knew about him changed forever. If you watched our first video in this series, you already know that we've begun a much deeper examination of the Chris Watts case. And if you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. I'll leave the link in the description so you can watch it after this video. Because this is only the beginning. This is episode 2 of our complete 20-video series examining the Chris Watts case. Over the course of this series, we're going to take a closer look at the people, interviews, evidence, relationships, unanswered questions, and critical moments that shaped this case. And there are still many details we haven't reached yet. So if you want to follow the entire story from beginning to end, make sure you subscribe to True Crime Mysteries and turn on notifications. There are more episodes coming, and you won't want to miss what we uncover along the way. Now, today's episode takes us in a different direction. We've heard the investigators, we've watched the interrogations, we've listened to Chris Watts speak from prison. But there is another perspective that is often overlooked, the perspective of someone who knew Chris Watts before the world knew his name, not as a headline, not as a convicted murderer, but as a friend. In today's video, we're going to hear from Chris Watts' longtime friend as he reflects on the man he believed he knew, the friendship they shared, and what happened when the truth finally came to light. And that raises a difficult question. Were there warning signs that the people closest to Chris simply didn't see? Or was he able to hide who he really was until it was too late? This isn't about making excuses for what happened, and it isn't about changing the facts of the case. It's about understanding how someone can appear completely ordinary to the people around them while hiding something unimaginable beneath the surface. Before we begin, let's take a moment to remember the innocent lives at the center of this tragedy. Heavenly Father, we pray for Shanann Watts, Bella Watts, Celeste Watts, and unborn baby Nico. May they rest in eternal peace. May their loved ones continue to find strength, comfort, and healing. And may their memories always be remembered with dignity, compassion, and truth. If you're watching in remembrance of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, you can type Amen in the comments. And if you appreciate true crime documentaries that focus on facts, evidence, and the human stories behind these cases, subscribe to True Crime Mysteries and join us for all 20 episodes of this series. I'd also like to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Chris Watts showed warning signs that his friends and family missed? Or do you believe he successfully hid his true nature from everyone around him? Let me know in the comments, and please keep the discussion respectful. Now, let's hear from someone who knew Chris Watts long before the world ever knew his name.
Jeremy Lindstrom here with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about the Chris Watts story. You guys have intimate details. Potentially the last person to actually see Chris and the girls alive. Is that correct?
Yes.
We want to kind of go into your aspect of the story, and as it's told in a first person, there's a whole lot of information and detail that you guys have, some of which I don't think has actually been shared before. And so we want to kind of dive into this story. Obviously, the anniversary is coming up. It's been a big story around the country, and a lot of people are really interested in it. So we are very appreciative that you guys are here to actually hear this story firsthand from the people that actually probably saw them last. So introduce yourself.
I'm Jeremy Lindstrom.
And how do you know the what?
I know them because I worked with both of them.
Okay, go into a little bit of that for me. Worked with them as in how? What was your relationship?
Chris was a very good mechanic, master technician. Shanann was a salesperson at the dealership I was at. Met them there. They don't have family that live in Colorado, neither do we. So we kind of struck off a little bit of a family friendship. They would come over to our house for birthday parties, our kids' birthday parties, Father's Day, Super Bowls, sporadic football games because they were big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, and we're from San Diego, so Chargers fans. If
Right.
they ever played, We were together for that game. They would have parties at their house for Steelers parties, and we'd go over and watch the game with them, and just random barbecues throughout the summer.
So your initial contact was through work, though.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Jennifer? How did you know them?
Through Jeremy. He met them both at work, and he said, hey, there's this nice couple, and they just moved out here, and they don't have any family, and we should go out to dinner with them and hang out. And then after that, we just started hanging out with them regularly. And
So I kind of want to go back and forth between the two of you, because I really want to set the stage. There's a whole lot of documentation on this story. And in the documentation of the story, there is kind of a common theme, really, that most people didn't think this guy was capable of this.
No, absolutely not.
So I kind of want to get your perspective, when you first met him, kind of when you first got to know the guy, and so on and so forth, and know Shanann, because part of this story is, and you'd said it before, a little bit, most people think that you knew him first, but you actually knew Shanann better.
Yes.
So I kind of want to get that perspective on this. So I want you both, we'll start with you, kind of how you knew him first, and then I want to get your perspective on what you thought of both Chris and Shanann.
Shanann was very detail-oriented, very OCD in a way, right? Chris was mow the lawn, clean out the garage. It was a very old-school, traditional family value in their house. Chris was a mechanic. Shanann was a mother, right? Like, very traditional along a lot of those. I told her one day at work, hey, I want to meet with you every Monday at 1 o'clock. Let's go through your customers. Let's see what I can help you with. Let's see what I can do. She would show up in my office, whether I was ready or not, with her phone. My alarm went off.
Yeah.
She would hold me accountable for our meetings. And Chris was meticulous with everything. That kid was one of the best mechanics I've ever seen fixing cars. He had a passion for what he did fixing cars at the store as a service guy. One day for his birthday, she bought him a supercharger for his Mustang. Like, would you think anything different? No. She knew what he loved. He knew what she loved. It worked, right? Everything worked. He is a hardworking kid. Anything she said to do, he would do it. 100% of the time. Hey, my parents are going to move out here. You're going to fly out to the East Coast, and you're driving the moving truck back, and they're going to fly home. He's like, I'm good with that. I'll drive the truck so they can fly home. They don't have to ride in the truck, right? This is the kid that did this. So there's no way, shape, or form would I ever believe this could happen.
Well, there's certainly a consensus with a lot of the stuff that's out there that is a very accurate description from a lot
100%.
of people. How did you feel about the two?
pretty much the same. Like Shanann was always, like from the moment I met her, she was always a super outgoing and super friendly. She wanted to, you know, when we first met her, she didn't have any kids yet, and she was, but you could tell that they really wanted to have kids, and she was really interested in, you know, our girls and what, you know, what they liked, and wanted to spend time with them. And then she got pregnant with her oldest, Bella, and you could tell that that was, you know, always her dream, is to have kids. And
Exciting moment.
yes,
Nothing seemed odd.
Well, she wasn't even sure she could have kids, right?
they did have, I know, some fertility problems with the first two, and
That she discussed with you?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, she just always really wanted to be a mom, and she loved, like, when she was pregnant, she would always be excited about, oh, I'm, you know, decorating the baby's nursery, and this is the theme I chose, and I got all the clothes ready, and they're all washed and hung up, but I'm only 4 months pregnant, and
So very type A, like Jeremy just
absolutely.
described.
yeah, very
Absolutely.
organized, and just always like ready to go. Like, what's the next thing? And you know, she just always had something going on that she could really dive into and be involved in,
And consistently that way every time you met him.
oh yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
So tell me how often that you guys did get together. I know we talked about some football games and some parties, which we're going to get to the one party, which was the night before. But prior to that, did you hang out on a pretty regular basis?
Regular as in maybe 6-8 times a year,
Okay.
depending on stuff. If I ever invited them to something, they showed up.
Yeah.
It's just, if they invited us to something, we showed up. It was just how we lived, what, 2 miles from each other?
So she worked with you. Did you develop a relationship with him?
Yes and no.
Well, you know,
right?
when you go to parties a lot of times and you're hanging out, the men will kind of go over to one side, women will kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
Were you with him one-on-one a lot?
No.
Not so much.
No, he would come over, and his main goal was my food. Whatever I barbecued, whatever I smoked up, whatever I cooked, whatever we put out, he was like, I'm coming over because I know there's food,
If it's free food, I'm showing up.
Right.
right? But he spent a lot of time with the kids.
Yes.
Shanann was more, hey, how can I help clean? What can I cook? What can I do? She needed to be involved in the party, right? Chris was involved in the kids and making sure they were taken care of, they were okay, right? Like, that's just how it always happened. Hey, they wouldn't leave. Shanann's like, I want to help clean the kitchen. I want to help put the dishes away. I want to do this. Like, that was normal. As normal as could be with really good friends.
Consistently every time, too.
100%.
100%. So there was nothing early on where you were like, wow, this is an interesting type of dynamic relationship. It was actually one of those just really good old-fashioned school relationships.
No, this was a relationship that people would probably wish for. With what she demanded in life and his acceptable personality, fit.
Which is really interesting because it sets up a story that's almost unfathomable anyway, and we're going to get to that because we've talked off camera about this before, and this is what makes the story so intriguing to me, because it is very difficult to place, and we're going to ask you a lot of those questions because I know you feel the same way. So leading up to that night, I want to jump right into the night before. They're at your house.
Birthday.
The birthday. Describe that party. That's the night before.
Extremely normal. We invited Chris because we knew Shanann was out of town. They talked, and we knew she wasn't going to be there.
Now, she was in Arizona.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you talk to her while she was in Arizona?
No, I did not, but my daughter did because she had actually babysat the girls the night before the birthday party.
Correct.
So Chris could go to
Baseball game.
alleged baseball game.
Right.
Which I invited him to the Broncos because I received tickets, and he told me he couldn't go because his work would be mad if he didn't use the tickets.
And this was the night before, the
Yeah.
party.
Yes.
Yeah, this was literally Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sunday was the
let's
party.
just start there. So the night before your party, you had invited him to the Bronco game.
I invited him a few days earlier, and that's when he texted me back, oh, I can't go. I got tickets to the Rockies game, and
I need
if
a
I don't use
babysitter.
them, my work's going to be mad that I didn't use them. And I get that because that's 100% normal conversation. Because if my work gave me their season tickets for the Broncos,
So we know in hindsight, though, that he had taken this mistress
Yes.
to the game.
Right.
But you did not know that.
no.
Your friends, but did they have any other friends that they were really, really close to that they did a lot of things with?
The Thrive friends, but we didn't know any of them. But I heard Shanann would talk about them.
But you guys had never heard any marital problems. Neither one of them had
No.
discussed any of that.
None of the marital, none of the financial, none of any of that.
On the surface, it's just like, this is the perfect family.
Yes.
Okay. So again, hindsight, we find this out. But you invite him. He says he's going to go to this game.
Normal excuse, normal everything. I don't think anything, I have zero radar of this kid ever lying to me. Zero radar, right?
Yeah.
And so when he said, oh, the work's going to get mad if I don't use these tickets, I get it.
Right.
I've been there. I
Makes
understand
sense.
that. Makes 100% sense. And I invited him because I thought I remembered him saying one time he'd never actually been to a live NFL game. So I was like, I thought of him right out of the gate. And I'm like, why not? I know that she's out of town. And before she had went to before she went to North Carolina, she's like, hey, make sure you call him and hang out with him. I don't want him doing anything dumb while I'm gone.
Now, when
Right.
did she leave to go to North Carolina? That was prior to.
That was, 5 weeks before?
Maybe, yeah,
Okay.
at like more towards the beginning of the summer.
Right.
She had,
Did we think it was weird she was leaving for 5 weeks with the kids to North Carolina? Sure.
yeah.
Yes.
But Shanann's personality didn't lead down any paths of marital issues or anything, right?
Well, this is why we're getting your story, because you guys have a really interesting perspective on the story. Because, again, knowing people, being friends. Now, there's a lot of times in relationships people don't tell their personal stuff, right?
Sure.
Right.
But it was odd that she had left. But still, in your mind, because you'd seen them interact so well together, the 5 weeks, just 5 weeks, you thought maybe
Yeah.
she's type A, she's going to go do whatever she's going to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Get me to the party the night before. Your
My
party.
son's birthday party.
Yes.
He came over like they have for the last 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. They came over, he shows up, he's got the diaper bags, he's got the girls, and it was normal conversation with Shanann. It was, hey, Chris is going to bring the girls over. Of course, nothing out of the blue. We're playing in the backyard, the girls are running around, they're playing in the little swimming pool.
Was he on time?
Give or take, there was no time.
Well, I mean, he was a little bit later, but he had mentioned when he got there that the girls had just woken up from their nap.
And nap was very important. Shanann
Yeah.
had these girls on a
On a
schedule.
schedule.
Okay, so they were on schedule,
Yeah.
so nothing there was odd. It's just
Nope.
they were taking a nap and then they showed up. Okay.
Yep.
They were-
And we
all their
were playing water balloons in the backyard. Chris was throwing water balloons. The girls were throwing water balloons. They were all normal kids' birthday party. Nothing crazy, right?
Do you see why I ask these questions? Because on the outside, it's extremely difficult. And because you guys have this really intimate knowledge, this is why it's really an interesting topic. And I'm trying to make sure we don't skip anything or miss anything. Because I think you guys would have caught it. You know him pretty intimately. So he's out there
If
playing.
anything was off.
yeah.
Say that again?
If anything was off, absolutely, we would have seen something.
Correct. He would be out there playing with the water balloons because we talked about it earlier where you're like, he would kind of migrate towards where the kids are at.
Yep.
Okay. So he's out playing with the kids, nothing out of the normal. He was a little bit late, but there's a nap. We kind of know that.
Right. Well, and at the same time, this is the first time we've seen one of them without the other. So we wouldn't have anything to judge off of.
Okay.
But it was still normal, like with the kids. But then when we got to the birthday cake, he was standing in there. He knew that the girls had allergies. She knows more about what their allergies were, but he didn't let them have cake. He didn't let them have certain things because he knew they had allergies, right? We got them popsicles out of the garage because they could have popsicles. And then shortly after the cake, it was time for them to go home because their bedtime is 7-ish o'clock.
Again, on schedule.
On schedule.
So let me ask
100%.
you a question. When you were talking about the birthday cake, when he tells you they can't have it because of their allergies, just a sincere, I mean, was there anything about that where you would be like, okay, that's odd or anything like that?
No, because I mean, we knew the kids had allergies, and he just said, I'm sorry, they can't have cake, and you could tell that they were disappointed. So that at that point, I said, okay, well, we have, just ice pops in the freezer outside.
And was that conversation the same conversation you'd always had with him?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Every birthday party's been the same. They can't have the cake.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was not abnormal by any means.
Yeah, I've replayed that birthday party in my head 1,000 times
Yes.
since then, just to see was there something that we missed that we could.
We haven't had his birthday party at our house since then.
Well, so one of the things that I certainly wanted to ask is, obviously at a birthday party you're taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Did you guys take a bunch
Yes.
of pictures that evening?
Oh yeah.
And tell me anything about the pictures. Was there anything about the pictures that stood out to be different?
No. Here's so in my mind, and I have the picture and I can send it to you now. Somebody tried to steal it off my Facebook page from another media source, right? And I had them take it down, and they did take it down. But I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle. Probably the most awkward. That's the image that's in my brain. Of him blowing out his candles and Chris standing behind him and the girls standing on the side with Bella looking up and over trying to watch him blow out his candles. Right? That's my last image of them.
So when you see that picture and you see him, is it a different Chris Watts than you knew?
You keep looking at it and his face changes, right? Every time I look at that photo, his face changes, and now it's like, that's a creepy fucking picture.
Yeah.
right? Like for real.
He truly looks evil in that picture.
Yes.
Truly.
That
In the
is
beginning,
so interesting.
absolutely not. Now, absolutely, right?
Because
Like what she said.
like, and the way his eyes, he's just like slightly looking up, like towards the camera, just with like no soul in his eyes.
Did you have the same visceral response as Jeremy did?
Yeah.
When you saw that picture?
Yeah, and it was the same too when we saw him being in his infamous porch interview after everything happened.
Right.
He looked and sounded different in that interview. Like it wasn't him. It was him, obviously, but he looked and sounded different.
So
and same
you
with that
almost
picture.
knew then, because we're going to get to this in a little bit, because
Yeah.
you haven't kept up quite as much as she has.
Right,
in there,
and I'm
so-
probably one of 3 supporters that thought that news interview was not what everybody else saw. Right, when you're inside the bubble and you don't want to believe things, you still don't see things.
Well, I'm going to get to that, because I'm going to really hammer that hard, because especially with, you were there, you were at the house, but I'm going to bring that up in just a second. So as with anybody that goes to a birthday party or anything, there comes that moment where it's time to go. And obviously Shanann's not there, who would have cleaned up and made sure all that happened. Was there any anxiety, anything, or was the departure also what you would consider normal?
Extremely normal.
Was it, come on girls, let's get in the car? I mean, what was
Yeah.
that?
It was bedtime's coming up, right?
Yeah.
We know that. We know Shanann's schedule. She has a schedule, and if you tell us it's her schedule, we're going to say,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
right? That's okay, right? And we don't.
Yeah. Well, and they stayed a long time too. It's not like they were there and left in 30 minutes.
Well, that's what I want to know.
They
The
were
party
there
started how long were they there?
probably for 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours, normal.
They were there for
And that would be normal.
Yeah, they were there for the playing and the eating and the cake and the presents. Like they're in all, during a party you take a series of pictures like of the kids playing, of the presents and the cake. They're in all of those events that happened at the party,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just
And he doesn't drink or anything,
Yeah.
right?
so they just said, all right, well we
Nothing.
gotta get going.
So he had nothing to drink.
No, he doesn't.
He
He doesn't
doesn't
drink. Not his thing.
Yeah. Very, very, very fascinating, because again, this is kind of the story I think that a lot of people have never heard before.
Right.
And it's a real interesting thing, because again, we can all put ourselves in that situation and know what is coming down the pipeline here. You would absolutely think that there would be something out of place or something not right.
Yeah, there's no way in my brain that this kid said, hey, can't wait to marry that girl so we can have kids and kill them all.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how that works, I guess. Like,
Are you convinced that, obviously I think we know through, what investigations have taken place that it was pre-planned. He knew he was going to do that.
based on all the stuff I've heard since then, apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
kind
how
of the
the-
consensus.
How can anybody freaking go to a kid's birthday party knowing that, hey, hurry up? Why would you protect the cake? Like, all that shit goes through my head, right?
Right.
Why would you care that they're allergic to something if you're about to take them home and freaking do what you did?
Yeah.
That doesn't work, right?
It doesn't, which is kind of that gap of speculation. Did the guy really intend to do it while he was at the birthday party? Did he?
According to his post interviews that I've seen, it was weeks before. I believe the kid, maybe I'm going too far into the story, but when he got with this other girl and got to go camping and got to go to the Shelby Museum, which he's a big Ford mechanic, right?
Yeah.
That's his passion, was Ford mechanics. His passion wasn't the oil field. It was the Ford mechanic. It was going camping, going to the Shelby Museum, going to all these Moab and everywhere else he got to go in that 5 weeks period of time, probably is what transformed his brain to a lifestyle that he didn't have, that he didn't know existed, and then wanted.
Yeah, there is a lot of speculation to that, and kind of how that transition went. There are certainly a ton of interviews. Here at Truth Talks, we don't want to, we don't want to put everybody else's perspective into this, because it's really about you guys telling the
Yeah.
story. But there is certainly some perspective that that it had been going on for a while. The thought process was there, and then obviously we did it. That's why it's so interesting to know that you guys saw them the night before.
Yeah.
That was what was really interesting. One of the other things we want to talk about is, again, when you hear that, your daughter babysat for them.
Yes.
That's got to be a little chilling too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and her story was when she babysat the night for the baseball game, right? When she came home, she had mentioned the pantry was a mess, like the house was a mess. It was not clean anymore. It was not organized anymore. There was zero regard for everything that Shanann does at the house, right? She's like,
Right.
I've never seen that house that dirty. Stuff was everywhere.
And that is interesting because that's the whole reason why I wanted to bring that up is there was something awry that as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. And your daughter noticed that.
Yeah.
Right?
And brought that to your attention. So we know that, man, it is really structured how they live their life, but yet she noticed that there was something not right.
Right?
Yeah.
And was there anything else that she said?
Yes, it was about the allergies. So when I picked her up, she said that everything went good. That I said, well, how did bedtime go? Because I know if she would to be babysitting her brother, bedtime wouldn't go good. He wouldn't want
Right.
to go to sleep, and but I know they have a very regimented schedule. So she said that Cece went to bed pretty easily on time, but then Bella went to bed and then came downstairs and said she wasn't tired yet, wasn't ready to go to bed. And through some conversation that she had with Bella had mentioned that her sister can't have coconuts, and that she does have coconuts, that she won't be able to see her anymore. So that really stood out to my daughter, and she thought that was kind of sad that she, had thought that in her little mind, but
Possibly
Yeah.
someone had told her if she has an allergic reaction to it
Yes.
that they could
Yeah.
die or something like
yeah.
that.
So it's probably just so that she would know to, help watch out so
Yeah.
that she doesn't eat the wrong foods. But then, eventually Bella settled down and went to sleep. Another strange thing was that Chris, when she got there, Chris ordered pizza and said the girls have already had all their medications, because my daughter was a little worried, like, am I going to have to give them medications at certain times? Am I going to have to give them nebulizer treatments because they had asthma? So she was worried about the medications and giving them the right medications. But he said, no, they're all good. I gave them their medications. You just have to feed them and put them to bed. They were already in their pajamas. Chris didn't leave his phone number with her, and she didn't leave her phone number with him. It wasn't like a conversation, and he didn't contact Jeremy or any of us to ask how the girls were doing. But Shanann, who was in Arizona, contacted our daughter to check on the girls and asked her to send pictures of them.
So Shanann must have known that he was at the game.
Yeah, she
Just
knew.
not
Yeah,
with
she
him.
knew that she was babysitting and that he was at the game. But she was the one that was checking in on how things were going with the girls, not Chris.
But that's kind of still par for the course, right?
Yeah.
Because she was always the one that was going to make sure everything was in order and detail.
Yeah.
So again, probably not too out of the ordinary for their lifestyle.
Yeah, but I guess he assumed if there was some sort of emergency that she would just contact me, because I was, at home right down the street.
Right. So after your guys' party, then we know that fateful night, right? So I want to go through when you first heard about it. I mean, obviously you're at this party, they're there, the girls are there, he's there, the girls are with him. You go to bed that evening. Was it the next morning, right?
That we found out?
Yeah.
The next
No, it was the
evening.
next night.
Yeah.
The next night.
I was sitting on the couch. I came home from work, watching TV, looking at Facebook on my phone, and I noticed that there was a post that the girls were missing, all three of them. And I kind of looked at it, and then I'm like, okay, right? My mindset is not that this is the family that something would happen to. And I had seen it again, and I looked over at her, and I said, I think Shanann and the girls are missing. And I don't know what that means, so I'm going to text Chris. And I texted him
And this is the next night.
Yeah.
next night.
So the way the story goes is that the friend who dropped her off at, I think it was 1:48 a.m., they just come back from a conference. She had missed an OBGYN appointment, and the friend was actually who called the police
Yep.
and called Chris as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Which is interesting because we've discussed this case before as we were kind of preparing, and we both were kind of like, who really follows up that quickly? I mean,
Right.
I don't think we would have, but obviously a good friend of hers, probably knowing that the type A personality, if they didn't answer that first time, then
Yep.
something's going on.
Yep.
So that was kind of the initial setup that was going on, but you guys didn't know any of that was taking place.
No.
But after
I
you
knew
saw
she
it,
was getting home in
Yeah.
those 2 days, right? Like,
yeah.
we knew that much.
When you guys heard that part of the story, was that shocking at all for you? Knowing that the neighbor would be like, hey, she didn't answer this text, she missed OBGYN appointment.
Well, my instant reaction is, how does somebody's friend know that they missed a doctor's appointment? Nobody's doctor ever called me because one of my buddies missed an appointment, right?
Right.
That's my mindset of things. What they talked about in Arizona or what they did in Arizona or a conversation from the airport, I don't know any of that, right?
Yeah.
Who knows if there wasn't a conversation that was like, hey, if you don't hear from me, right? Like, I don't know. Now that everything I know later brings me back to some of this,
Right.
which is all speculation in my head, right? But when I followed this through, and I'm like, there's no way he did anything. Who calls the cops after dropping somebody off at 2 a.m. or whatever at 10 a.m. because they missed a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's doctor calls that somebody else to say, hey, your friend missed an appointment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? That's my brain. That's,
Yeah, no, I kind of went down that road too. And then what is interesting is, but we're talking now, this is like noon, the police have showed up, they're talking about, but then it hits the airwaves that night.
Well, and at the end of the day, good for her, right?
Right.
Good for her for
Oh,
having
absolutely.
the wherewithal to know that something's wrong.
Yeah, something's
Right.
wrong.
Because we knew them and we were close to them and we didn't speculate anything
Yeah.
would ever be wrong.
Yeah.
But so good for her, right?
But you then hear this information how and when?
On Facebook at about 8:30 at night, and I looked at her and I said, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay?
What was the initial message that you saw?
On Facebook?
said- yeah, did it
Was that
say-
the girls are missing, help find my girls.
From Shanann's mom.
Right,
From Shanann's mom?
Yep.
Okay.
right.
And
And I was like, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay, right? And he texts me back, oh, I'm sick to my stomach, blah, blah, blah.
Can you give me a timeline on that, about what time that was?
Let's just say 8:30,
Okay.
and about 8:30 and 30 seconds, I
Okay.
texted Chris, but by 8:31, I was already in my car,
Okay.
driving to his house. Right? Like, what the hell's going on here? I have flashlights in my car. Who are we going to look for? Or did they go on a walk because they have a pool in their area? Did they go to use the bathroom in the pool because the girls had to go to the bathroom? Did they get stuck in a bathroom? I'm not leaving them overnight stuck somewhere.
yeah,
Right.
Right? That was my
that was the initial
let's
thought.
go, right? And so I went over to the house, his door's wide open, he's on the phone with somebody. I go in the house and I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's like, I don't know where they went. Her said she was gonna maybe stay at a friend's house, like, oh, I got all the bullshit.
Okay, I want to stop you right there, though. And again, this is in hindsight.
Yep,
You see Chris at the party, and even before.
yep,
Was there anything different about that engagement?
no,
Okay.
nope. When I went into the house, I'm sitting at his table, he's on the phone with someone, and it's like, where the hell are they? I'm like, hey, where do we go? Where do we go look? What do we do? And he says, oh, the cops told me to stay here. I don't know what I'm looking for. They told me just to go to bed and we'll do this tomorrow and whatever, right? He was just saying things and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to push him too far. I don't want to bug him. I don't want to not be supportive by any means. And so maybe 30 minutes goes by or so, and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll go home, right? And when I walked out to my truck, my phone rings. Let me back up. While I'm in the house, she's texting my phone. Where's her car? Are the car seats in the car? Where's their medications? Right? All the mother.
So you're thinking about this.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they got into a fight and she left and went back to North Carolina or something along those lines.
Right.
But then he's like, no, all the stuff is here. And that really did not sit well because I'm like, okay, so she would have to like get an Uber that had car seats in it and already have medication. Like I'm trying to logically think like, okay, she left and went back to North Carolina. That's where
And you knew her type A personality.
yeah, I'm like, that's totally what must have happened. And she just needed time to cool down. The stuff being there was really, and then to come to find out her purse was there, her wallet was there, her phone was there.
Correct.
So that was really the kicker right there. that
Now, did
something's
you
not right.
relay that information to her? That the person
So I
from-
asked him, I said, where's their medication?
Yeah.
Where's their medicine? He said, oh, she has more than enough medication than we have at the house.
Did you go inside the garage and see the car
No.
with the car seats?
No.
Did he just
I-
told you that?
I didn't want to. I guess in my subconscious did not want me to attack anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nor was I thinking I should. I asked him straight up. I said, is the car in the garage? He said, yes. Car seats? Yes. Where's her phone? It was on the counter. Cops took it. Right? He answered my question,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any reasons to.
And still, your
Oh.
radar is like, this is the same guy that I've known.
I'm thinking you're the cool, calm-headed guy, and I know her well enough to know that if you try to screw her over, she's taking these kids and she's getting the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Right? Because her personality says so.
Yeah.
And so when he said, well, we got in an argument and she said she was just going to take the kids and go to her friend's house, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably it. Right? Because nobody comes home from work and says, hey, by the way, you know your best friends, or not best friends, but your friends, they just killed their family.
But at any
Yeah,
point,
no.
but at any point in your mind, it's like, well, number one, that friend would have to live close.
Right?
And then certainly by then the cops would have found, they probably would have called every friend that they had.
Sure.
Did you get a call from the police?
I did. So when I left his house, I go out, door shuts. I'm standing on his porch. I look down, there's a dead bird on the floor. And I'm thinking, why is that bird on the ground dead? Right? Doesn't happen. I said, yeah, that's not a sign I'm leaving. Right? Right away, I'm like, yeah, that's not a sign of anything, I'm leaving. And I'm walking to my truck and my phone rings and it's the Frederick Police Department calling my phone. Hey, how's it going? This is, blah, I forget the name, but at Frederick Police Department. Do you know Chris and Shanann? I said, yeah, I'm at his house right now. And he goes, oh, should I call you back? Right out the gate, should I call you back? Is this a bad time? I said, I'm actually getting in my truck right now. And he's like, oh, okay. You know, we start talking and he just asked a few questions and he goes, hey, I need your email address. And he asked personal information, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I may be contacting you in the next few days if I have any other questions, blah, 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 right?
Do you
And
mind disclosing what questions that they ask?
normal? How do you know them? What's my cell phone number? He called it, but he wanted to write it down. And I asked him, I said, you guys have her phone? Yeah, we're going through all the phone numbers on her phone and we're just calling them all. I don't have any questions. He didn't have major questions of anything. It was
General information.
just, hey, I just want you to have my phone, or I want to have your phone number. I want to have your email address. We may be calling you. You're at the house right now? Yes. What'd you guys talk about? Nothing. I'm just looking for where these kids are, right? Where Shanann is. And then he's like, okay, well, thanks for talking to me. And that was it.
So nothing about, when did you get there? What are you doing there? How long have you been there?
They weren't investigating anything, right? They were just going through phone numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at that point they didn't even know what they were up against or looking for.
One would think that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that anytime something like that happens, the first thing you do is everybody's a suspect, I would think.
Sure,
And
sure.
because I want to get to that a little bit later too. I want to talk to you a little bit about what your experience was with that, and if you felt like you had, there was any type of really questioning of you, like what was your role in this thing?
Right.
So again, you then you hear this news, you go home. What happens after you go home? Are you still texting him?
No. Nope, I didn't text him at all the rest of the night. Went to work the next day.
Are you texting Shanann?
No. Oh, I did text Shanann, and I said, "Hey, where are you?"
Yeah.
And I got nothing back.
Yeah.
Right? I said, and I'm looking at Facebook and I'm looking at different things, and I texted her again. I said, "Hey, dude, if you're somewhere, just tell your mom, right? Tell your mom where you're at, because your mom's worried shitless. Just let her know." Nothing. And there was things that would happen, like, because the cops had certain things like on Facebook and stuff like that, they had access to her account and everything. You would see where it looked like she was going to respond to something, but then no responses. Like when you text somebody and they text you back, if you have an iPhone, it shows a little cloud that they're typing.
Right.
There was different things where it shows that the messages were read, not from my phone, but from Facebook. Because I messaged her on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Do you guys mind opening up this for just a second? But you get home that night after talking to him and so on and so forth. Do you mind telling me what your guys' conversation was?
Essentially, it was the conversation of, I was at the house. Yes, her phone was there, which she knew most of that. The cops called me on the way home. They just wanted to ask me if I knew the family and that I was there, right? Like, I don't know all the details of all that part, but then it was like, where the hell did they go? And both of us look at each other and it's like, she left, right? She left with the kid.
Well, and you also found out kind of an important piece of information while you were over there, as I'm grilling him with questions when he comes home.
That's
like,
what I want to know. Were
Yeah.
you like ramping up questions?
Yeah, because I'm trying to make sense of all this, and he mentioned that Chris said that they were having marital problems, and that was the last time that we saw them all in person together. She was newly pregnant. They were excited. Never heard of any marital problems. So he said, yeah, they've been having disagreements and whatnot. So immediately I thought, okay, she left. She took the girls, she left, they're having issues.
You were 100% convinced in your mind that they just left.
Well, that's what I was trying to convince myself of, but the whole piece of the phone, the car seats, the medication, like my mind couldn't reconcile that part of those things being gone. So I'm like, okay, Shanann's really, really smart, she's really organized, so maybe she left that phone and she got a new phone. Like I start thinking about, movie type stuff.
You went through a lot of scenarios
Yeah.
of which her being murdered by her husband was not one of them.
No, yeah, absolutely, like that. And then one that even went through my head at some point was maybe their problems were really bad and maybe she took her life and the girls. Like maybe it was a murder-suicide that way. That was like the worst case scenario in my head. Like maybe they had such a bad fight and there was going to be a custody and she was pregnant, she was stressed out, she just couldn't handle it anymore. Like that was my worst case scenario.
Which is what is so interesting to me, because obviously we know the outcome of the story, but that didn't cross your mind.
No.
Never.
And then as time started going on and he started doing interviews and he started becoming a suspect in the media.
Well, so I want to get to that. So he comes home, that's that. You guys have this conversation of trying to really figure out what might happen or might have happened. And you probably were trying to even be helpful, like, okay, what can we do to,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
to do what we've got to do to help find him. Tell me when the next basic communication happened where you found out information that
So
he was doing these
Tuesday.
interviews or whatever.
Yeah, the following day.
So Tuesday, the Colorado Bureau of Investigations came to our house,
Okay.
and they had called previously, and they said, "Hey, we want to come talk to you. We want to come talk to your daughter." They're trying to put together. She babysat, right?
Yeah, they're just trying to get together the timeline.
They're trying to put their timeline together.
But you guys
Your
would have
daughter
had to.
babysat.
But you guys would have had to have been on the top of that list, because if she had all these multi-level
100%,
people,
because
you guys
we were
had to
the
be
last
close.
people to be with him.
Did they know that already?
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, yes, because my conversation was my daughter babysat the kids
Okay.
the night before. They were at our house for the birthday party, right? Now they're missing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Her mindset was, why the fuck did he do that to us? I mean, I guess that's later in life, later in conversation, but why this nutshell to bring us into this bubble?
Right.
But till Tuesday, the CBI comes over. We sat with one in our living room, and the other one was like, hey, I want to go talk to your daughter in a different room, closed door, about the night of babysitting. Right? And we're like, okay, that's fine, right? We're trying to help. Prior to them showing up, somebody else showed up because they needed pictures of what the kids were wearing. And she had pictures of when she babysat the kids, what they were wearing, what they go to sleep with, what they wake up with. Like, they were detailing 3 nights ahead of the birthday party night, right?
Yeah, they're looking for missing persons. Because I know in some of the research that we've done, the police actually even showed him a picture of a woman and 2 kids in a Walmart, and they were asking if those were his kids. Now, I think there were some other psychological things they may have been doing at the time,
Right.
but they were actually at this point still looking for a missing person.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are on the top of the list, which is why they probably called
Right.
you somewhat similar first. At any point in that time, were you still just trying to picture what could possibly have happened, or now that you're actually getting questioned by police, and we're talking now the bureau
So
stuff?
when CBI came to our house and were talking to us, they kind of said the comment of, there's other people who already have an outcome, right?
And yeah,
I'm assuming
her family.
her family, right?
They already.
But they probably knew a lot more about what was going on between the two of them than we did, right? So I'm still just, I was a supporter of Chris not doing this, and there's no way in hell that that's what the outcome was.
When they questioned your daughter, what were they asking her?
About like normal stuff, like, you know, how long have you known them? What was your relationship with them? And then tell us about, just like walk us through your night of when you babysat. Was anything out of the ordinary? Did anything eventful happen?
And what they were wearing?
Yeah.
Well,
The
took
night that she
yeah,
left.
Yeah.
They took pictures of her phone that had pictures of what they were wearing, and they showed her pictures of clothes, right?
Which that would have had to have been pretty intense for your daughter too at the time.
Yeah.
Were you guys talking to her about the disappearance, missing? Was she fully aware of what was going
100%.
on?
Yeah.
And at any moment did she come to either one of you and say, Mom, I think I know what happened. Dad, I think I know what happened. Or was she also under the influence or under the thought process of where do they go? Wonder if they left. Did she ever say anything potentially of the outcome that involved?
No.
No, yeah, we were all in the same thought process of what is happening? Like, is this even real? Like, none of it seemed real.
Right.
And then, you know, their faces start getting plastered all over the news, and it's really like, what is happening? Where are they?
Thank you for leading me directly into that. So when you see this news interview that he does,
I feel like this isn't even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
tell me about that.
That was weird, because since we know Chris, we know that he's not an emotional type of guy. He's very passive. So I know a lot of people were saying, like, he wasn't showing any emotion, like, what's wrong with him? And at that point, we kind of just brushed it off. That's Chris. Like, I know his family is missing, and this is a crazy time, but he's not the type to be freaking out and showing emotion. So that's kind of what we thought. Like, it kind of looked like he did look a little awkward and odd.
He's a very awkward person.
But that's but that's how he is. And then, but then looking back in hindsight, like watching it again after knowing what happened, like he had really weird body language. He kept chuckling. I don't know. He was just really
So
a
after the
little
fact,
too
you noticed.
nonchalant about it.
after the fact, you noticed things that you were like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who've done a lot of stuff on this. Dr. Phil was one of them that did a whole presentation with it. And, he was using pronouns instead of the names and a lot of things that make sense kind of in a hindsight 2020 thing. Because it's a big story. It's the unfathomable. And again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys sharing this, because there's somebody's going to benefit from this. There's going to be something that comes out that, this stuff does happen and it's real. And, but what is so intriguing is the way you guys have described him, and also even that's Chris. That's the kind of demeanor that he does. I think that's really a fascinating thing. But now you are seeing these things. You have to be hearing from friends that this guy did it.
Oh yeah, well, just reading the comments on the news after his interview, everyone after that interview thought that he did it.
They had him pegged because
Yeah.
they had no idea who he was.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was, and we're like, no, like
It
he's
still didn't sway you.
It's different
Yeah.
when you're inside the bubble.
Correct.
Yeah. We're like,
And,
no.
and I had people calling me from where I worked before that also worked with him. Like, what the hell did she do? Right? Everybody was like, not surprised that she would take the kids and run.
Yeah.
Not surprised of like, just everybody was pointing at her absolutely taking the kids and running.
Yeah.
Like, because nobody would peg him